Rabbi Pikus from Kojo Fabrish, yes.
Yes, I'm director of a major agency here in this community, and over the years my staff has learned to, trying to break through the, I call it barriers of government, and basically with the new streamlining, what they call 311, in other words, you have no, agencies have no accessibility.
Right.
Now, in an age when everyone's talking about greater access, now it's less and less access being experienced right now.
I agree, and 311 needs to be reformed. There needs to be better ways of dealing with it, but there is lack of access, there's lack of communication. Everybody in government talks about transparency as if they knew what that meant. They obviously don't know what it means. What it means is enhanced communication and the ability to work with the agencies. I totally agree with you, and it's not something it's something I've become aware of over the last 4 or 5 years. It has gotten much worse than it used to be. It needs to be fixed because, it may sound trite to you, but I do believe in participatory government. We need people to listen to the people. We need to open up our work. We need to be more transparent. And we need to have accessibility to the folks who we partner with to provide services like your organization. And by the way, you called it a barrier. It's called bureaucracy, and it's the worst form of bureaucracy that I've ever seen.
Excellent. Joe, one second. We'll ask Avishek, who's, as you know, worked with the Attorney General and the Governor's Office, and is an executive board member of our Flatbush Jewish Community Coalition, FJCC. Avi?
Sure. So you mentioned the going out to do the forums in the communities, and I think it's important. But fundamentally, what people in a community like this and similar communities across the city, I think, are concerned by is talk about income distribution, the amount of money that the city spends per capita on whether it's economic development money, it's park money, community and cultural money, it's all focused in Manhattan or in those communities in the boroughs that are immediately adjacent to Manhattan. You get out here and communities like this across the boroughs, and you can't get the same kind of money or access from the city. And so the question is, how do you get to a more transparent and equitable distribution across the 5 boroughs of the community and not have it centered in one small island, as important as that is to the future of the city?
No, Avi, I totally agree with you. When I last left government 12 years ago, the only borough that said that they were the forgotten borough over and over again was Staten Island. Now I hear it in Brooklyn and Queens and in the Bronx as well. The concern about a Manhattan-centric government is very real, very, very palpable. It has to start with going into the community and listening. If you stay in downtown Manhattan and don't leave downtown Manhattan and you make decisions without getting the input from the community. Let me give you one example, and I'm sure it's had an impact here as well in Flatbush. We now have more and more bike lanes. Let's not debate whether or not we should have bike lanes, but how is it possible that bike lanes go in your street without any community input whatsoever? The community boards don't know about it, it just happens. And when was there a speech or a major understanding of what the strategy is about bike lanes in New York? Where do you want to go with it? What is the vision for that? It just happened, and it just keeps being rolled out. And quite honestly, that's what's missing here. And last time I made a statement like this, somebody said, "You sound like a Democrat." And I said, no. Communication with communities is neither a Democrat or a Republican effort. It reminds me of Fiorello LaGuardia, who used to say, there's no Republican or Democratic way to pick up the garbage. Just pick it up. And the important thing is we need more and more community. And you need to get out into the communities. We're 5 boroughs, we're 1 city. But what happens, and I just had this issue on Staten Island, DOT makes decisions about left turns and no left turns and where bike lanes go for Manhattan, and then they roll it out to all of the boroughs. And I don't know if you were here earlier when I mentioned this, Staten Island is more demographically and geographically closer to Nassau County in how it's structured. And so not having left turn signals that is good for Midtown makes no sense, but all of a sudden they come to the conclusion, if it's good for here, it's good for everywhere, and it's not. It really isn't, and we need to focus on that. Look, I hope, and I mean this because it's not like a mayoral candidate to say this, I want strong borough presidents. Borough presidents are there to be advocates for their borough. I want them to be strong, and I want them to be able to communicate. I will meet with the borough presidents as well. Some of them will like me, some of them won't like me. Doesn't matter to me who we all are supposed to serve the communities and the people. Let's figure out how to do it and have open lines of communication. I'm not gonna be able to do everything the borough president wants, but I'm gonna listen. And we'll be able to figure out what we can do with whatever limited dollars we have.